It's an ethnic cleansing, baby. They're doing it. And now it's a part of the counterterrorism law, too. You guys want to hear something interesting about the only democracy in the Middle East? There was an amendment recently made to their anti-terrorism law. No surprise that Israel has surprisingly draconian counterterrorism measures, considering the fact that they do deal with Hamas pretty often, and Hamas do love them a bit of terrorism. They've been known to do it. There was a recent amendment made, 13-4 in the Knesset, a temporary 2-year measure, I've heard that one before, that amends Article 24 of the counterterrorism law to ban the, quote, systemic and continuous consumption of publications of a terrorist organization under circumstances that indicate identification with the terrorist organization. I want you to really chew on that sentence for a second. Systemic and continuous consumption, as in reading, of publications of what the Israeli government defines as a terrorist organization under circumstances that indicate what the Israeli government defines as sympathies with the terrorist organization. It's essentially thought crimes. This is just insane anti-free speech shit. So this is even more extreme than some of the post 9/11. This is significantly, vastly more extreme than anything. Not even remotely close. Not even insane. Their counterterrorism law includes a perceived sympathy with. Well, here. I mean, I have the video. You've maybe seen the video. I have the video from our good friends Al Jazeera English. This woman was detained by Israeli security forces over her WhatsApp status. You're being charged with spreading sympathy and partaking in terrorism. No, that's impossible. Hang on, and supporting. And she says, I say that may God grant victory to Israel, I swear. Apparently, what happened was her WhatsApp status said something like, may God grant them victory. And because she's Arab, the police were like, oh, she means Hamas. Hamas sympathy, terrorist. Arrest. Content that incites violence and terrorism. We investigate your involvement in a terrorist group. She doesn't seem happy with the whole being arrested for a WhatsApp status thing. Vaush is watching her stream illegal. This is not a joke. Legitimately, their law could be interpreted as watching my stream from Israel could be like the Israeli government considers calls for a ceasefire to be terrorist sympathetic. Like legitimate. I'm not joking. Like, it's deliberately vague because vague laws are how you get a lot of people, right? Moments later, her husband was arrested as well. Yasmin Kadora is a Palestinian with Israeli citizenship. Man, I wonder why this incredibly vague counterterrorism law that publishes thought crimes led these police to arbitrarily go after a Palestinian woman in Israel. I wonder if there might have been another reason or perhaps a pretext that they were waiting for that they could immediately go for. Had changed her WhatsApp status on October 25th to say, may God grant them victory and protect them. Okay. Israeli forces allege she was referring to Hamas. Hours earlier, Israel had passed new amendments to its counterterrorism bill. That's right, police were acting on this within hours, almost as though this was something they were already waiting to act on. Like, hours. Hours. How often do legal changes take place that quickly? They were waiting. They were waiting there in their police stations, their hands over their batons, waiting to go out there. Around 1.2 million Palestinians hold Israeli citizenship, dozens of whom have been arrested over social media posts. This happened like this, like instantly. Or have been suspended or fired from jobs, university, and colleges since October 7th. They had the list ready? Yes. In all likelihood, they had a list. In no doubt, they've had this list for a long time. We know how Israel is with Palestinians, but in all likelihood, the moment, like, the police were waiting, and from the word go, like, the moment they could, it's like, okay, who can we get? And then they just start rounding people up. This law is one of the most intrusive and draconian legislative measures ever passed by the Israeli Knesset, since it makes thoughts subject to criminal punishment, said Adalah, the legal center for Arab minority rights in Israel. Wonder if this guy's going to get arrested sometime soon. It warned that the amendment would criminalize, quote, even passive social media use amid a climate of surveillance and curtailing of free speech targeting Palestinian citizens of Israel. Quote, this legislation encroaches upon the sacred realm of an individual's personal thoughts. Pronounce the K in Knesset? Really? Okay. And beliefs, and significantly amplifies state surveillance of social media use. The statement added. The Association for Civil Rights in Israel slammed the amendment, saying it has no precedence in democratic countries and that its ambiguity ultimately leaves its interpretation to the enforcing authorities. Since the war began on October 7th, Palestinian citizens of Israel have been subject to an unprecedented campaign of arrests for free speech-related offenses, mostly over social media posts. At the time this was written, 10,500 Palestinians have been killed in the Gaza Strip. It's probably closer to around 12,000 now. So that's cool. Isn't that a literal step in the pipeline to genocide? Oh, yeah. Well, we're not a step in the pipeline. The genocide is currently happening in the most unambiguous terms possible. But yes, the eradicate. So the goal for the Zionists is not just reclaiming the Gaza Strip and the West Bank. Obviously, they want that. They also just want to purge the Palestinians within their country. And they can't do it as easily for the Palestinians who are citizens within Israel, right? Like in the West Bank, you have armed settlers that move illegally from settlement to settlement, seizing territory with IDF backing. And in the Gaza Strip, of course, we have the bombing campaign. So what do you do about the Palestinians who are already citizens in Israel? Well, you can't carpet bomb Tel Aviv or whatever, right? So instead, you have to come up with incredibly vague, draconian laws that allow you to sort of indiscriminately arrest people for crimes against the state or terrorism against the state, and just sort of ethnically apply that. That's all you need. Is that their end goal to gain control of all of Israel? This is the goal of so many fascist groups. When fascist groups have no real way of making the lives of their citizens better, of appealing, of using politics effectively, you take an ethnic group and you reduce them to ash in an effort to displace people's antagonism. This happens over and over and over and over and over again. Like, think of like the Nazis. The Nazis couldn't govern for shit. So what do? You start a war, fuel off of like the initial boon of a war economy and the plunder from, associated countries, the fervor of hatred, with the Republicans. The Republicans can't govern. They can't make people's lives better. So what do they talk about? They talk about the eradication of queer people in the United States, though not necessarily in those terms, though sometimes, yeah, in those terms. And then with Israel, Netanyahu can't do shit to make people in Israel happy, nor does he care about doing that, nor does he want to. He's investigated and found guilty of, or suspected heavily of fraud. Did he feel guilty? No, just everyone knows that he's a fraudster. And a criminal. He's not loved by the people of Israel. He's not even liked. So what do you do to hold power desperately? Well, you just turn against a different group. The eradication of the Palestinian people might be what Zionists want, but it'll never end. If they could get what they wanted, the complete eradication of the Palestinian people or their deportation, you know what they would say? They would say the same shit about the territory they seized up north, the heights, further north near Lebanon. They would do this shit with their neighbors. They would do it with Syria. They would do it with Lebanon. They would do it with all of the Golan Heights. Thank you. They would never stop, because there is no stopping with fascism. There is no stopping with genocide. At no point in human history has a group that has built its political will off the fervor of the execution and deportation of a group of people ever said, oh, we finished, we're done now we're done, so we're going to do something else. That has never happened ever. It can't happen. The only logic here, it's like a cancer or a parasite. Israel, and I should say the Zionists, because if the Zionists lose control of Israel, the fervent far-right ones, and it's controlled by any other group, maybe things change. But as long as the current people are in charge, Netanyahu's cabinet and the people who back them, like the United States, thank you, they will kill and execute and deport. And when they run out of people to kill and execute and deport, they will find new people to do this to. There is no fixing this. There's no end to it. Vaush, the Palestinian woman, was arrested for a post that happened before the law even existed. This violates the legal principle of ex post facto, which is a law that retroactively changes the legal consequences of actions that were already committed. Yeah, it's a basic legal principle that, like, if you're going to be arrested for doing a crime, it had better have been a crime when you actually did the crime. But like, they were on the list. Like, she was on the list. They absolutely 100% Israeli police have lists of Palestinians near them that they keep an eye on. And just like, who cares? Like, what do you think she's going to get a fair trial? Do you think she's going to get a trial? My guess is that they arrest a ton of people, and occasionally cases get thrown out when they decide it's not worth the effort. But for the most part, they're going to get massively backlogged. I mean, how many arrests have happened? Hold on. Israel arrests since October 7th. Article 6 days ago, 2,080 Palestinians arrested in the West Bank alone since the 7th of October. According to the statement, the prisoners were arrested from their homes or while passing through military checkpoints where some of them had been forced to surrender themselves under pressure after members of their family were held as hostages. They point out the arrests were accompanied by systemic abuse against the detainees and their families, in addition to the arrest of an unidentified group of Palestinians who work in Israel as day laborers whose jobs are not precisely known. Not exactly new for Palestinian people. Oh, hold on one second. Oh, here's from Al Jazeera. Here we go. So this article is from the 21st of October. That's 2 weeks after October 7th. Israel doubles number of Palestinian prisoners to 10,000 in 2 weeks. In 2 weeks, they doubled the number of arrested Palestinians in Israel. Since then, it's significantly more. This is before they passed that law, the counterterrorism law. How is that even logistically possible? Because police are rolling through the West Bank and occupied Israel, tossing them into vans and throwing them into overcrowded prisons. Just literally like rounding people up. It's an ethnic cleansing, baby. They're doing it. They're doing it in the West Bank. They're doing it in the Gaza Strip. They're doing it in Israel broadly. They'll get you at a checkpoint. And now it's a part of the counterterrorism law too. All they have to do, they can just prowl your social media. Did you say anything even remotely, ambiguously, possibly pro-Hamas, or even just anti-Israel? You know, that's all it takes. Dangerous prison conditions. Recent developments regarding prisons are, quote, unprecedented and, quote, dangerous. We hesitated a lot about holding this press conference addressing yet another chapter of Israeli crimes while our male and female prisoners are being exposed to in the occupation's prisons for fear of creating tension and anxiety among the families of the prisoners and our Palestinian people in general. Prisoners are subjected to starvation and thirst. They are prevented from accessing their medicine, specifically for those suffering chronic illnesses that require regular medication, he added. Adding matters became worse when, quote, the prison administration cut off water and electricity. Oh, is this in Gaza specifically? No, this is just cutting off water and electricity to the prison. They don't have any, yeah. Shut down the prison clinics, deny access to medical care, physical attacks, degrading treatment. Everyone who is arrested is assaulted. Many of the prisoners have had their limbs, hands, and legs broken, degrading and insulting expressions, insults, cursing, tying them with handcuffs to the back and tightening them at the end of the point of causing severe pain, naked, humiliating, and group search of the prisoners. The Israeli parliament, known as the Knesset, on Wednesday approved a plan currently effective for 3 months, allowing the reduction of the minimum living space allotted to each prisoner, previously set at 3.5 square meters, to accommodate a rising crush of prisoners. To what? To what? Because it was previously at 3.5 square meters. Here you go, from Haaretz. Israeli government approves temporary plan to address overcrowding of Palestinian prisoners. They're getting what they're entitled to by law. Sleeping accommodations, food and drink, and nothing beyond that, Israel Prison Service Commissioner Katy Perry said on Tuesday in briefing for reporters. Cool. The head of their prisons is literally bragging that they're only getting what is barely allowed for them by law. Yeah, Katy Perry. Katy Perry? No medicine, I guess. And On the eve of the outbreak of the war, there was high occupancy in the prisons, the notes state. Against that backdrop, the sharp increase in the number of detainees since the beginning of the war has produced a substantial increase in crowding at the prison facilities in a way that doesn't make it possible to meet the provisions of the law. The requirements are the result of a 2017 ruling by the High Court of Justice that provides each prisoner be given 3.5 square meters of space. The impression that I'm getting from this is that they didn't actually lower the minimum space amount each prisoner gets. They're just saying you can ignore it. That's the impression that I'm getting from this. They didn't lower it from 3.5 to 2.5 square meters. They're just saying, yeah, it says 3.5 square meters. You can ignore it. So people can just be crushed. Palestinians are going to have to delete their social media because Israel has the spyware to bypass commercial security. I don't know anything about the Pegasus system. Israel is pretty big with surveillanceware. Anyway, yeah, so in addition to what's going on in the Gaza Strip, everything that we just read about the prisons, this was before they passed the amendment to their constitution that allows you to be arrested for just doing whatever at any point. They're arresting Arab-Israeli lawmakers. Surprising. This Time article could load. They are behaving in a fascist way, an Israeli Arab lawmaker on the stifling of anti-war voices. On Thursday, Israeli authorities detained several high-profile Israeli Arab leaders, among them former parliamentarian Mohammed Barakeh, the chairman of the High Follow-Up Committee, the national representative body of Palestinian Citizens for Israel, for organizing a protest vigil against the ongoing war in Gaza. Yeah, so you can be arrested and charged for having bad WhatsApp posts. You can be arrested and charged for being anti-war or anti-genocide. Just like the guy, folks, fellas, my good friends, okay? The our thriving Middle Eastern democracy, our good friend. Earlier this week, Israel's High Court rejected a petition by Arab Israeli political parties and human rights advocates challenging a police ban on demonstrations against the war in 2 Palestinian towns. That's right. It's not just a ban on anti-war demonstrations. It's specific to 2 Palestinian towns. So, you know, amendment to their counterterrorism law. The crackdowns admit to an attack on the entire Arab population, says Aida Tuma Sliman, an Arab-Israeli lawmaker representing the left-wing Democratic Front for Peace and Equality. Cool. Almost immediately hung a master. Look at this article. The journalist interviews a West Bank settler, and it's insane how evil the settler is. Yeah. I don't buy the argument that being an Israeli settler in the West Bank instantly means that you're like a soldier or a combatant, but yes, the impression that I've gotten from basically everything that I've seen is that a lot of them are like Americans or Westerners who go to Israel because they want to live out a personal, vindictive, racist power fantasy, and personally like shit in a toilet that a Palestinian used to sit on or whatever. Like, they're insanely evil, a lot of them. Like, this is not like every Israeli or whatever. This is like a specific type of Israeli that does this shit. But I don't want to go over this entire interview right now.